To summarize what we have learned to this point, the revelation of John using chain of custody cannot be dated any earlier than the 15th century. Internal evidence confirms that John could not have written the book any earlier than the mid-15th century, and most likely later in the century, or even into the early 16th century. The evidence consists of an overlooked symbolic comparison used by the revelator as he described what he saw. When John was shown the throne of God, he saw a sea of glass before the throne. He compared its clarity and purity to crystal. Later in the vision, John was shown the river of the water of life, which proceeded from the throne of God and of the Lamb. Like the sea of glass, it was clear as crystal. The imagery is consistent because the sea of glass and the river of the water of life were symbolically identical. John described the holy city, Jerusalem, in a similar manner. It too was clear as crystal. John also described the city as clear glass. That John uses crystal as an image of clarity or clearness is a defining moment in the Apocalypse. The image of crystal clear is a modern term and defines the Apocalypse as a modern document. The Greek word used by John and translated as crystal is krustoulos. Normally it refers to rock crystal. While rock crystals can be translucent, allowing light to pass through, they are not usually transparent. They do not allow objects to be seen clearly through them. Rock crystal would not serve well for John's analogy, where the defining feature of the sea of glass and the river of life were their clarity. The crystal John referred to was not rock crystal, but glass crystal. That John was referring to glass crystal rather than rock crystal is explicit in the text. The sea is made of glass. The city is clear glass, not clear stone. John's comparison of the sea of glass and the heavenly city to crystal is not just a symbolic analogy, it is a linguistic idiom. It is a set phrase widely used to describe something that is very clear or apparent. The idiom first came into use in the 15th century. The poet Edmund Spenser, for example, used the idiom in his Shepherd's Calendar in 1579. The reason that this idiom arose in the 15th century is that crystal glass was first invented at that time. The type of glass we now call crystal was first developed in the middle of the 15th century by Angelo Baroviere. It was called cristallo due to its resemblance to rock crystal. The extraordinary clarity of cristallo quickly became proverbial, giving rise to the clear as crystal idiom. In our day, the Lord implied the idiom when he described the earth in its sanctified state. It will be like unto crystal, meaning that it will be crystal clear, allowing its inhabitants to clearly see all things. John's comparison of glass to clear crystal becomes a historical anachronism if his apocalypse is dated any time before the mid to late 15th century. The only reasonable explanation for John's use of this idiom is that the apocalypse was written after 1450.